Coming up on this week's episode of the Real Lives podcast.
After doing Antarctica, I see how much my life changed just from that one event. It has cascaded a whole bunch of different things to happen in my life. And I think, fuck, next year, what's the next big thing? I was like, man, I've been putting this ceiling on myself. And that helped open the floodgates where I thought, fuck, I can do way more than what I thought I could do. More than that, again, is when I went there and I realized all the stuff that you have to go through to get there, the logistics that they have to go through, the setup, the food, the specialty aircraft that has to come in, the pilots that have to fly. And I kind of think 30 grand's probably pretty cheap. There's guys doing and girls doing so much more than anything I've even thought I'm capable of. And I'm like, fuck, I got to do more.
On this week's episode, I have on the definition of true grit and self-motivation, and that's Alex Cleary. Alex is an Australian who recently ran the Antarctic Marathon back in December, and I flew out to Belfast on New Year's Day to do this episode with him because, you know, we tried to get it done for a while and basically timelines didn't align with me moving out of Australia, him being in Mali for work and stuff like that. And so I saw he was in Belfast, booked a last minute flight and got it done. And I'm so glad that I did. And in this episode, we get into a multitude of things. We talk about how running's changed his mentality, the power of good habits. We talk about why he got into running in the first place and why he now runs for the Black Dog Institute, which is a mental health charity. We talk about a lot of things where you can change your habits for the better, and it's not even big things, it's very small things like writing things down, scoring your mood from 1 to 10 on a daily basis so you can look back and see where the problems may lie. We talk about his recent journey into going sober. He's now been 6 months sober, and you know, the way he spoke about it and when we spoke after the podcast, it's clearly changed things for the better for him, and it's great to see. But yeah, this episode it's probably one of the most in-depth ones that I've done. And Alex has an incredible Instagram at Clearly Runs. So go give him a follow over there. You can find all his socials and everything down in the description below. So make sure to give him a follow and support him. And I hope you enjoy this episode with Alex. Alex, appreciate you coming on. It's honestly like this is probably one of like the ones I wanted to get done for so fucking long because I saw you on the Action Impact with Jess Lyle, right? That's the name.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's like a marathon in Antarctica is fucking incredible. But then also the story behind why you're doing it was like, for me, I was like, that is absolutely insane. So I'm glad to get it done. But just for anyone who doesn't know, just give an overview of who you are and what you do.
I'm Alex Cleary and I run a lot. And I run a lot because I think it's been a bit of a catalyst for a lot of change in my life, particularly this year, among other years, but yeah, particularly this year. And yeah, I like to challenge myself, and running a marathon in Antarctica was one of the ways I thought would be a good start.
Well, firstly, where did the idea for the marathon in Antarctica come from? And then how in the fucking on earth did you get to, like, because obviously the logistical side of it is high end stuff. So how did you get to the realization like this is actually logistically possible, even like with the finance of it and stuff like that?
Well, that's a good question. Yeah, earlier in 2023, I watched a good mate of mine. He lost, I don't know, maybe almost 40 kilos just from running. And I saw the effort that he put in because I only ever knew him as like a bigger bloke. So then when I saw him lose all this weight, change so much about him, I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like I need to do a lot more because I'm already reasonably athletic normally. And so I already have a better starting block than he does, and I'm doing fuck all compared to what he's doing. Yeah. So I sort of watched him go through that transformation, and I sort of looked at my own life and I was like, man, I'm sort of doing the things that I think I should be doing, but I'm doing them at such a low volume compared to what I just witnessed.
Yeah.
That I felt not ashamed, but I just sort of looked at myself and I thought, fuck me, like I can do better than that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just looked up the hardest marathons in the world, and one in Antarctica popped up, and I was just like, holy fuck.
That's the one.
That would be sick.
Yeah.
That would be nuts, because just imagine. Like, you just imagine it and you think, oh my God, that would be crazy.
You see the videos of Antarctica and stuff, and you instantly, I feel like you're always in awe when you see that kind of stuff, because it's just so vast and there's nothing there.
Yeah, it's so different from where I grew up and what I know, that when I see something like that, even I lived in Canada for a little bit, and seeing the ski mountains is like, holy shit, I've never seen anything like this. So Antarctica is exactly like that for me.
Yeah. And so obviously, like, because I had a look at the actual marathon setup itself, and I was blown away by the cost of it. It's $20,000 US dollars as well to get it done. So I'm interested to know, like, did you fund that yourself, or because obviously you got a load of sponsorships along the way? Did they help fund that as well for you?
No, I paid all of it.
Fuck.
Because I wanted to make all the sponsorships donate instead of pay. Because I felt like this is something that I want to do personally, and I had the money sitting there. It was invested, and I was like, fuck the investments. Yeah. Pulled all the money out and put it into that over some careful deliberation. I'll be honest, at the time, it was it was definitely not the smartest decision at the time financially, but to me, I looked at that and I thought, man, this is sort of a once in a lifetime sort of deal. If I do this, then I can say that I did something pretty cool in 2023, and it's something I can look back at and be grateful for, I suppose. But more than that, when I think about it now, it's impacted my life way more than I ever could have imagined, because signing up for that marathon then started the journey to start an Instagram page and making the content and getting the sponsors and doing the fundraising. And to me, that is worth so much more than the 30 grand that I proposed. And more than that, again, is when I went there and I realized all the stuff that you have to go through to get there, the logistics that they have to go through, the setup, the food, the specialty aircraft that has to come in, the pilots that have to fly. And I kind of think 30 grand is probably pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Because obviously I was watching your, like, the Antarctica Part 1 and 2 videos that you did. And I was sat with some friends last night because I was obviously telling them that, like, this is what I was coming to do. And I was explaining, because obviously you can't there's no set schedule for flights to Antarctica because the weather can change so drastically. And it baffled me, like, because you obviously could have been sat in an airport for 12 hours just waiting for this flight, but you don't know when it's going to leave or what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's a weird circumstance, because they brought us in for the briefing, and you're sort of going through the stuff. And to be honest, it's hard to pay attention because there's so much stuff that they're going through, flight times, and people are like, wait, but hold on, like, and what about, and everyone's just like sort of freaking out a little bit. But they pretty much just bring you check in for your flight the day before. So you give them your bags, you get your boarding pass, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then they text you the night before and they say, it should be about 11 o'clock we're going. So then you get to the airport for 11, and you get another text in the morning saying, yeah, the weather window still looks viable.
Yeah. And
then it all comes down to the pilot on the day, and then you sort of get to the airport, and we waited probably another hour or two.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I've heard some crazy ones like years before where they were stuck in Antarctica for a week or things like that, and I'm like, oh man, that sounds
that's
crazy.
Rough. Like, you want to go there and obviously experience it, but once you're done, you're kind of ready to leave. And it's like, if you're then stuck there for a week, fuck it. Like, because obviously, if the weather's that bad, you're probably stuck inside the entire time. So you kind of like, what do you do the entire time?
Yeah, I don't know how bad the weather would be there. I think flying there is difficult because it's such a big window that they need, because they need to fly there, touch down, unpack, repack the plane and fly off again.
Yeah.
And then have the weather good enough to fly in and fly out.
Yeah.
So it's a bit more than just, well, if they can fly there like a normal flight, it would be easy, but it's the unpack, the return, because the plane can't stay there overnight or anything like that.
How long's the flight from Chile to get there?
Oh, it's only 4 hours from
That's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah. Bloody hell. So what was the plane like itself, like flying over?
The plane was just like a normal flight, except they had 2 rows dedicated to just extra sleeping bags. I think in case there was a emergency or they had to stay or something like that. and you got to pick any seat you wanted.
Sweet as.
The plane was only filled with us, so it wasn't a full plane, and everyone's got so much gear that they got to lug on to the plane. It's a bit of a pain in the ass, like extra boots, extra pants, extra jacket. Yeah, it is a bit of a pain in the ass.
So when you got there, like logistically, what was the setup? Like you were camping, right? So, but then other than that, like in terms of your meals and everything, like what was going on with all that?
Yeah, well, we pretty much, you land on the ice runway, and then they've all picked us up in their modified vehicles. Like some had not wheels, but like treads, like rubber treads instead. And then we'd all jump in those and sort of go back to the camp, which was, I don't know, 20 minutes away.
Yeah. And
then the camp is pretty much just a bunch of tents for people to sleep in. And then there's like a mess. So like somewhere to eat. There's a library. There's a few other bits and pieces. There's mechanics out the back. And there's sort of just like a flag section, big square. And they say, don't leave there because it is unsafe.
Oh, shit.
Because I think they get satellites to look into the ground, and they also have their team surveying the sort of place so that they know where the crevasses are and know the points that you need to watch out for. Yeah,
okay, yeah, it's pretty intense. Like, but obviously you're probably used to it, having work on a compound in Africa kind of thing, so you're used to that being enclosed somewhere.
Yeah, it's almost the same thing.
Yeah, basically, just a bit colder.
Yeah,
but so yeah, like in terms of as well the preparation for that race, because obviously you work in Africa where it's 30 plus degrees most days. You're from Australia where again it's you're from Queensland, right? So it's like same 30 degrees most days, and then in Melbourne obviously a bit here and there, but still it's not that cold and you're not getting those extremes. So what were you doing for prep for it?
For the cold weather prep, absolutely nothing. There's nothing I could do, to be honest, because exactly what you say, majority of my time is spent in Africa working. There's absolutely nothing I can do there to be in cold weather.
Yeah.
There's not a freezer they'll ever let me run in. There's nothing like that.
Yeah.
So there was basically nothing I could do. When I was in Melbourne, I would run, like I usually run early in the morning anyway, so you get a bit of chill, but it's fuck all compared to what Antarctica was.
Yeah.
So
what was that like for you then when you got there? And obviously you sort of ShakeOut Run. How did you feel on that? Like then thinking ahead towards the race?
Well, it was almost it was a bit of a bluff, that ShakeOut Run, because you get there, you put your gear on, and the day that we landed, conditions were perfect. Literally perfect. Like bluebird day, no wind. It was almost hot. It was so good.
Yeah. So it was just beaming down on you kind of thing.
Yeah. No, it was like -5 or something like that. And when you're running in -5, no wind chill, you don't need fuck all. Like I didn't wear a balaclava for the ShakeOut Run. I didn't have gloves on. I just had like little inners on, and I was like, oh, bro, this will be pretty cruisy. Like I just had glasses on, no goggles. I was like, oh man, it almost felt a little bit ripped off. Like if this is what tomorrow's going to be like, I might get a good time here. That's what I was thinking. Apart from like the snow underfoot is pretty rough because it's pretty much like running on sand, and you got to sort of pick your line. It was a big bluff because when we finished the ShakeOut Run, the very next day, straight after that, I think we had dinner, and then we had the race briefing for the next day.
Yeah,
and they pretty much just said, today is absolutely nothing like what tomorrow will be. So they said it'll be similar temperature. I think they said -5 to -8, and then they said the wind chill was going to bring it up to about -25. So windy as fuck. Because when you get off the plane, it was in a natural wind channel, which helps keep the runway sort of clear of snow a bit.
Yeah.
But it had a natural sort of hill, and then the camp was on the other side of that, so it would block a lot of the wind until it got over. They said something like 10 knots or 15. I can't remember what they said. But it was way above that. Which meant when we woke up the next morning, like the tents are like rickety, shaking around. And as soon as I walked out, I was like, fuck this. This is freezing. Like the day before, I was almost just wearing a shirt and like long pants and like some stuff. So when I walked out the next morning, I was like, fuck this. Got the big jacket, got the fucking beanie on. I was like, no way.
Jesus, yeah. And then obviously you were there at a time where it's 24 hours of daylight in Antarctica. So, like, in terms of the day of the race, when you woke up for it, how were you feeling in terms of like recovery, and like, were you nervous as well? Like, what was going through your head?
Yeah, it's rough because the tents are fucking bright yellow.
Yeah.
So it's like you got a light in your tent that's just beaming into your eyes. Yeah, it was pretty shit sleep, to be honest. I was wearing a beanie like over my face just to try and block out some light. So yeah, it was not fantastic. I didn't really need any recovery because probably the last 5 days before that I hadn't really done much running. I had one run in Punta Arenas.
Wait, hang on. I swear you did a marathon like the week before and won the marathon. The straight of...
No, that was 2 days after though.
Oh, was it? I thought that was before.
Nah, after.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
So you go and run a marathon in Antarctica, come fourth in that, and then you go and fucking run another marathon elsewhere and finish it first after like probably one of the hardest races you could ever do in the world.
Yeah, pretty much. It was good fun. But most of the people that were racing in that Strait of Magellan were people from, well, actually all of them, were from people that had run in Antarctica.
Okay.
So they're all running on sore legs, and I think that's the only reason why I won. Is because that's the worse the conditions, the sorer everyone is, the better I think I can do.
Yeah. But I mean, Christ, still to win it is pretty crazy. Like, but yeah, as well, because obviously you said it's like running on sand. So you obviously, a lot of your preparation was done in Mali on that dirt track. So would you say that was helpful in preparation for running on the snow, or was it completely different?
Nah, it was completely different. It was. I think the only benefit I got from my training, apart from a good aerobic base and maybe some speed, was that it's hard. Like after 12 hours of work, it's hard to mentally say, "Fuck this! I'm going to go run 10Ks. I'm going to go run 12Ks." And then go and eat dinner and then quickly go to bed. So I think all of my training really prepared me mentally more than anything.
Yeah, okay. And then as well during that, like, while you were in the preparation, while you were still in Mali, were you able to recover much? Because obviously you're starting work, was it like 3:30 in the morning? And you're, 12 hours on, and then you're trying to get that run in. You were also doing the run streak of 100 plus days. So like, how was the body feeling after all that? Like, were you just a bit like taxed sort of thing, or were you fine with it?
Yeah, no, it's pretty taxing. After 6 weeks, I'm pretty fucked. I'm pretty tired, but I didn't start that way. That's just how I am now. Yeah. So when I started, I thought the maximum I could ever run at work was 25Ks in 1 week, and that would be 5Ks for 5 days of the week.
Yeah.
And to me, at that point, I thought that was absolute max. I'm fucking exhausted. There's no way I could do more than that. And there was 1 week where someone said to me, "Oh, you won't run 10Ks a day." I was like, "Fuck yeah, I will. I'll give it a crack." And then I did it, and I sort of thought, I was like, man, I've been putting this ceiling on myself. And that helped open the floodgates where I thought, fuck, I can do way more than what I thought I could do. And it's just keep pushing that ceiling higher and higher until you realize the more I push, the more my body adapts, the more I can push more.
Yeah. And this is the thing as well, like, with a lot of people do. Like, I've got friends who, they try to get into running and they say, like, oh, I get bored after 5K. And I'm like, but you've not experienced what it's like after that. Like, when you like, you hit the boredom and you push through it, there's almost an element of fun that you can get to that, like, even if it's like just an extra K or K after that, like, because that feeling of accomplishment afterwards as well is like, fuck, I can do more than what I thought.
Yeah.
But most people sit at where they think they're capable of being, when actually you can go far and beyond, like in your case, where, you started out probably running like a few K, and then now you're running ultras, 100K, Geelong to Melbourne, Antarctic fucking marathons, like the works kind of thing. So let's go back to the very sort of start of when you got into running, and like, what was it that got you into it? And also, did you ever want to do marathons and things like that, or was that something that came later?
No, I never really cared about running at all.
Really?
No, marathons were never on the list. I think during COVID, I was stuck in Melbourne. I was overseas and I came back. I was stuck in Melbourne, and I love playing sport, mainly team sport, because I like the camaraderie.
Mm.
And I was sort of just sitting around. I thought, man, this is no good sitting around. I was spending a lot of time trying to learn photography. And then I was like, man, I need to do something for my fitness.
Yeah.
So I started running, and I don't know, I liked it. I liked the obsession of the early morning, the waking up, running, pushing through, then spending the day playing with photography stuff. And then the more I enjoyed it, the more I was like, man, I could maybe do it a little bit faster. And I didn't know anything about running then, so I was just pushing every single run, pushing as hard as I could. And I probably did that maybe 8 weeks, and then busted my knee. And then I stopped running for a fairly long time, probably a year and a bit. And then, it was just sort of with my lifestyle where I'm always flying, always moving around. I'm never really in a place where I can play team sports. Running is something that I can do anywhere. All I need is a pair of shoes. So it's sort of been just the accessibility that's brought it there.
Yeah. It's an interesting one as well, because so many people got into running in lockdown. Like, it became a massive craze. And now, I feel like before lockdown, everyone saw marathons as like the pinnacle. And then now you're seeing people run stupid distances, like Hardy Skeezer at the minute.
Yeah.
He's like 260 something days in of 60k a day across Africa. And like, I feel like now people are beginning to appreciate what running is and what it can do for you in terms of I feel like it's one of the few things in sport or in life where you get to a place mentally that you cannot get to otherwise. Yeah,
it's up there. The more I run, the more I realize how piss weak all of my achievements are. And I think, fuck, man, there's guys doing and girls doing so much more than anything I've even thought I'm capable of. And I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
I got to do more.
This is it. Like, when I interviewed Akana Murray Bartlett, she's like 80 days into a marathon a day, and she obviously did 150 in the end. Like, I sat after that interview like, fuck, there's so much more I can be doing with my life. And it's crazy because it is motivating in a way as well, because it makes you think, like, if they can do it, I can surely do it. Because, like, again, it's that thing, I'm from a sporting background and stuff like that. It's like, I'm like, yeah, I can fucking go and do this shit.
Yeah.
Like, you need to put the time in to do it, kind of thing.
100%. The more I see running, the more I realize that there's so many just normal people doing just crazy fucking things. You look at it, you're like, he's no sponsored athlete. He's no special case. He's no track athlete from way back, and now he's running marathons at fucking sub 220. That's just a fucking engineer running across Australia. Like, Chris Turnbull is a beast.
Yeah, exactly.
And you look at him, he's just a normal dude.
Yeah, this is it. And it's like Rob Pope, who I interviewed as well. Like,
exactly.
He was a vet in Liverpool, and he just got sick and tired of working stupid hours and was like, fuck it, I'll go run across America. Ended up running 5 times across America, and like, they remortgaged the house so they could do it. And like, there was obviously sponsorship involved, but a lot of it was self-funded. And it was like, that was just him. He's not even your typical, like, you get the motivational kind of runners. He's not even that. Like, he's just in it for the fun of it. Like, he doesn't have anything else for it. Like, he's just like, and it was like, I think he did it for WWF, the obviously World Wildlife Fund. And, he's just, I think he was just more, you like, just down to earth. Like, he's just couldn't give a fuck about anything. He's just like, I want to do Forrest Gump's run, so I'm going to go fucking do it. Like, and that's what's crazy. And it's like, you see these people who, you could meet them 10 years ago, and then all of a sudden you see them again on the street, and they're like, what have you done? And they're like, oh yeah, I ran 5 times across America, or I've gone and done an Antarctic Marathon. Like, and it's fucking crazy. And, this is what, like when I spoke to my dad before about what you did, he was like, is he fucking mental? And I'm like, probably, but also people can do this shit now. You can just go and do it, because obviously I think as well, like, it's a lot of the younger, like, generation that are doing it, whereas the older generation, it's like, people in the 40s, the 50s are still a lot, like, very stuck in that's too, like, extraterrestrial almost to do that kind of thing. Like, it's well without, like, out of their realm. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like, we don't do that. We go to work, we look after our family, and that's it.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more to life than that, and that scares me a lot, thinking about, is this it?
Yeah.
No. And the more I do these sort of challenges, the more I think, fuck, man, there's so much more to this than I ever thought. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's like you've probably completed the Antarctic Marathon, and then you're looking straight away at what else you can go and do.
Oh yeah, we're already locked in.
What are we talking?
Next is Ultraman in May.
Okay.
That's 10K swim, then a 420K ride, and 84K run.
Jesus Christ.
Over 3 days.
Where's that?
That's in Noosa in May.
Ah, fuck.
That's the plan. That's what I'm training for now. I'm trying to learn how to swim at the moment.
Is that why there's all the swimming content now?
Yeah. There's a lot of swimming content because I can run good enough.
Yeah.
I'm just about to buy a bike.
Yeah.
But I can't swim at all. So
yeah,
it's learning how to swim at the moment.
So I had knee surgery 4 months ago, and in the build up to it, I couldn't run because my knee was just like shafted. So I started swimming. Yeah. It's the most humbling experience anyone will ever go through. You think you can swim, and then you try and do laps and laps and laps, and like you feel like your lungs are about to burst. You can't you look like a dog in water basically. It's like it's the worst feeling, but also it's so good to be like a beginner again at something.
Yeah, it's nice. My whole life I've told myself I couldn't swim, and I think for a good portion of it I couldn't. There's no doubt about that. But when I was 20, I signed up for a triathlon, just a sprint one. So it was only a 800-meter swim, and I just did breaststroke the whole time, and only because I could keep my head out of the water and breathe. Yeah. And I would stop and hold on to the buoys so I wouldn't drown. But before that, doggy paddle was as much as I could do. Yeah. And then since then, I thought that was, I can swim. Yeah. And I only did like three triathlons then, and then I've never been in a pool ever again. And then now I'm like, fuck, I need to learn how to do freestyle because breaststroke is not going to cut it for 10K.
Yeah. I think as well, cycling is probably, that's a mind game. Like, I used to cycle, and it can be hard, but like, in your long endurance rides, I would like running, because like there's a lot of fatigue with running, whereas with cycling, I feel like it doesn't hit you as much, so you can obviously go for longer, but it's that mental game of you just sat staring at this sort of like 45-degree angle at the floor and you don't move it, like, and your ass is hurting, and you just there for like 3 hours, what have you, and 420K, that's gonna be a mind fucking a half, I feel like, for you.
Yeah, it's gonna be rough. It's 140K the first day after the swim, and then it's 280 the next day.
Oh, so it's split. So you're splitting it up basically. You'll finish 140K, and then they give you like the time off that night, and then it's into the 280, what have you.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, it's like a 3-day triathlon.
So then the run the third day.
Yeah, just the run, 84Ks.
Oh Christ, that's rough. Because do you know who Fergus Crawley is?
Nah.
You'd be really interested to look at his stuff. So he's from the Wirral in England, and he did his own double Ironman, but it was all like a continuous event in Snowdon.
I think I've heard this.
And yeah, so it's obviously double length swim, double length bike, double length run, but it's just back to back. And he's done a documentary on YouTube about it, and that's
interesting.
Yeah, it's a really good one. I'll send you a link to it because it's like, yeah, you'll love his stuff that he's done.
Yeah, I was thinking about, because this Ultraman is cool because I wanted to do an Ultraman before I ever did an Ironman, because I think it's way cooler to just fuck the Ironman and just go straight for the big one.
Yeah.
And it's a good motivator to just be like, well, I got to swim 10K, so if I'm not putting every ounce of effort into learning how to swim, I'm not going to make it, and I'm going to fucking waste everybody's time who's coming there to help me.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, fucking, you'll learn how to swim now, or you'll be a loser to everybody around you.
Yeah.
So, but in saying that, there's the break each night to sleep. It would be cool to do it all at once, like you say.
Yeah.
Because I think the Ultraman is double plus a smidge on a double Ironman. I think it would be pretty crazy to do that.
It's like, for me, it'd be the cycling through the night, because obviously
it'd be rough.
You've got nothing to look at. There's nothing to stimulate the brain to keep you awake.
Yeah, that would be a tough one.
Yeah, because I feel like with running, I think the impact of the running would somewhat get you there. Like obviously you'd have moments where you'd be knocking off, but on a bike with no impact. You're in the same position. You know, I feel like that's the one where you're probably going to come off and
Yeah.
you crash kind of thing.
And that one's going to hurt when you come off too,
Oh,
isn't it?
Christ, yeah. Oh, that would be bad. But yeah, he's done some crazy like challenges. I think he was the first person to do, he did a sub 5 minute mile, a 500 kilo total in powerlifting, and a marathon in the same day. And then it was like a 1,200 pound powerlifting total and an Ironman in the same day, sub 12 hours. Like, he's fucking mental. And like, he's right up your street.
That's a good effort.
And it's like, so for you, obviously, like, you're doing these things, and are you ever looking at like doing things where you are going to be the first to do it, or are you just looking at like, you just want the hard challenges?
Yeah, the first is something that is tantalizing. It is. I'm still wondering what it'll be. I think I'm not that good of an athlete just yet, maybe, but I don't know. I think a lot of the time, some of those firsts, they're not athletes at all. They're just people who have just got a crazy good mind. So I don't know. I really want to get some Guinness World Records or some Australian World Records. But man, people are setting the bar really high, so it's pretty.
Little interruption. She's going to come in? No. No, I think she's gone. We're good. Oh, well, little interruption. Oh wait, she's still there. Yeah, I'm just busy.
Oh, thank you.
Keep that in, shall we?
Fuck, what was I talking about?
Being first.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
being
Yeah,
first,
there's some cool ones. Like, there's a lady that ran 200 ultra marathons in 200 days. Something like that excites me.
Yeah.
That's a big one. That's a big one.
Those ones, I love them because it shows the power of routine. Like, Ned Brockman did it, didn't he? He did 50 marathons in 50 days.
Yeah.
And obviously Conor Murray Bartlett, and it's like, you know, that he obviously was doing it and going to work.
Yeah.
And that, I love that because it's like, it shows people as well that even if you have a full-time job, you can make time for shit. Yeah. Like, it's just a case of it. If you want it hard, like that much, you can do it.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like that's what you're doing as well. It's like, you know, you work in the 12-hour days and then you're still getting out on your 1K track and running laps like daily kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost motivating getting out there because I love hearing people's origin stories about long before they were ever some crazy athlete like David Goggins, or there's another guy, I can never remember his name, but he was talking about he used to run half marathon before he'd go and work in the military during the day, and that was sort of one of his...
Cam Haines?
Nah, not Cam Haines. Cam Haines is also another legend.
Yeah,
that is on that where he's running crazy distances.
It's like a marathon a day, and he was doing it while doing a full-time job as well.
Yeah, loose unit.
Yeah.
But when I think about running in Africa, or I think about swimming on my lunch break on night shift, I think about those and I'm like, yeah, one day I'll be able to point to that and say, this is why I was able to do what I do today.
Did your mindset almost change though? Like, so obviously when you started running and it was like, fuck, I've got to go and got to run tonight after work, you know, after this full shift. Was it almost you were like, did it switch to be where you would be midway through a shift and all you could think about is getting out for that run?
Sometimes I fucking dread it. I dread that run after the day. Yeah, especially a lot of the time during that run streak, because I'm a stubborn prick. I didn't want to lose the run streak because I was just lazy and I didn't want to run. And yeah, there were days when I just look at my shoes for like half an hour and I'm looking at it. And the longer I look at my shoes, the less sleep I'm going to get that night because the turnaround is tight. I got to finish 12-hour shift. Then I've got to run, and then I got to eat dinner, and then I got to go straight to bed pretty much. And then I got to wake up, do it all again. Yeah. And then once you add in breakfast and dinner, there's only so much time that you can get a good night's sleep. Yeah. And just keep going and going and going. So, yeah, I don't know. There's sometimes when that run is the best part of my day, and there's sometimes when I'm absolutely dreading the first step. But then once I'm going, it's all good. It's all smooth sailing after that usually.
Yeah. So with running as well, obviously your mindset has changed drastically from probably when you started it, and you like you've said online that you obviously used to drink to sort of get through your problems and stuff, and obviously that's now changed where you use running as your outlet and use activity as your outlet. So where did it come to you that you were like, I need to change this and like make something positive of my life rather than drinking your way through your problems and getting like stupidly drunk when you just didn't need to and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think a few years ago I started to make small steps towards a better life, and they were just slow and gradual. That's when I started journaling, and I started to wake up early, and I started to do cold showers and just do things to mentally push myself a little bit further. And I think more so this year is when I forgot your question.
About your mindset shift and obviously going from like the drinking to then also to using positive things as your outlet rather than the negative where you make yourself feel like shit.
Yeah, that's true. So a few years I made the small steps, and then this year the biggest leap has been when I finally fucking quit smoking and when I finally stopped drinking. Quitting smoking I've been trying to do for fucking years. I even got hypnotized at the start of 2023.
Really?
Yeah, it didn't work. But I was trying my absolute hardest to do it, and after all of it, all it was a mindset switch where I just looked at myself and I said, am I the person who smokes, or am I the person who's going to live this fantastic life and push myself to the limit? Because those don't jive.
Yeah.
They don't jive at all. So quitting smoking was probably one of the biggest ones, because it's one of the biggest things that I hated about myself. And then after that, I didn't realize what an impact stopping drinking would have had. That's been a pretty gnarly one. We just hit 6 months today.
Oh, congrats.
6 months. Because it's a strange one, drinking, because I never would have looked at my life and said I had a problem. I don't know. I think I was just young and I wanted to get fucked up. I like to party, really.
Yeah.
I think I really had a partying problem. But now, after I only started sort of dry July as a bit of something to challenge myself again, and then I did the month, and I thought, oh, that wasn't actually that bad.
Yeah.
And then the longer I did it, the more I looked at the relationships that I had, the friendships that I had, and I thought, oh, maybe there's not a lot to that friendship. And everything that I do is based around drinking. And when you stop drinking, you sort of look at it and you think, why was I drinking then? There's so many things I can do that is outside of drinking. And the more that I hang out with friends without drinking, I realized that it wasn't ever something that had to happen, and it was just something that we all did out of default.
Yeah. And it's that thing as well, like you're the product of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. And if you're spending most of your time with people who are just drinking and things like that, it's like, what are you going to become essentially? And like I had a conversation with one of my friends the other day, and he got himself into a bit of a bad way during uni, and we stopped speaking for a bit. And then when I moved back, I started speaking to him again, and he was saying like the people he was hanging around with, as soon as he stopped doing like the drugs and stuff with them, he was like, I had nothing in common with them but the drugs. But because he was doing it with them, like obviously he thought, oh, this is great. But then afterwards it was what now? Like there's literally nothing to talk about. And it's like during my first year of uni, I actually ended up going sober for about a year, I think it was. And
that's a good effort.
Yeah.
Especially during uni.
Yeah. It was like, because to be fair, like I moved to uni and I didn't have like the best experience of it. And it was like, I didn't like the social settings, because you would go to, someone's like pre's, and you get there and everyone's just like, it's a game of how fucked up can you get. And
exactly.
There's no substance to anything. And this is why I do this. I love the substance to the conversation. Like last night I went to a New Year's party, and the one guy I was talking to was not drunk, and we were like deep in a conversation. And it was like, that's just the kind of shit that I enjoy. And it was like, I was like, yeah, I don't need this. I don't need to be like, people shouting at me for just because it's like they think it's funny, or like, causing shit going on a night out. I was like, I'm just not here for it. So took a year off it, and it was probably one of the best things I could have done, because also I was like, I don't need this to have a good time.
Yeah.
But then I started drinking again, and now it's more like I just enjoy a drink with my mates sometimes, like go to the pub or whatever. And it's one of those things I think everyone at some point should
spend, I don't know, a month, 2 months, 3 months sober and see how actually it does make you feel.
Yeah, I think fucking 100% everyone should try it, because the amount of conversations that I've had during it is people sort of know that they should maybe try it, and then they think, oh yeah, but I could never. And I'm like, fuck, bro, you could. You 100% could.
Yeah.
And the people that do it, I think they're gonna. It's at least opened my eyes a lot to exactly what you say. The conversations that you have and realizing that there's a lot more to life than just getting fucked up. Because for me, that was majority of my life, was fucking doing as many drugs as I could and drinking as much as I could.
Yeah. And then
just jumping in the middle here to say, please like, subscribe, share the podcast, all the bullshit that people ask for. Because again, I want to get amazing guests on every week, and without your support, I can't do that. So please, if you could just like and subscribe or share with a friend who may enjoy the episode, it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the episode.
This is it. And then like when you're doing that and you're like, you look back at the peak of that to then what you're doing now, is like anyone can do it. You know what I mean? It's like it, and you see it in people all the time. People who've like heroin addicts and stuff, and they turn their life around and become like, I don't know, motivational speakers or what have you. Like anything is possible from whatever situation you are in. It's just whether you want it that much to get there.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's like, so for you, then obviously when you quit the drinking and you started doing the journaling and things like that, what was it you found was working for you in sort of changing your mindset and having a bit more of a positive outlook on things, and looking after your mental health?
Yeah. Well, the gratitude journal is probably, that's been a really big one. All I do is, it's nothing crazy. I just write down 3 things that I'm grateful for each day. It's just a little journal. It's fucking sitting over there. It's I thought it was fucking bullshit when I first tried it. Yeah. But you see so many people that do it, and I thought, fuck it, I'll just give it a go. And that's generally how I put anything into my habit loop or life or whatever you want to call it. Because I just give it a go, and if I think it's any good, then it stays. Otherwise, just turf it. But the gratitude journal has been a pretty good one. I don't know. The more that I do it, the more I see things that I'm grateful for during my day, and I start catching myself being super present in the moment. I think, fuck, yeah. I never would have come to these thoughts in my head without doing that. I believe, at least anyway. That's probably one of the biggest ones. And then the other one would just be being able to spend some time reflecting. Before I started doing anything, being able to sit down and reflect on the week, on the quarter, and on the year was non-existent. So when I did start to do that, it starts showing you how blaringly obvious there are the things in your life, whether you're not looking after your relationships, or financially you're fucking around too much, or you're drinking too much, or you're not doing any exercise, because it's written down on a piece of paper. Yeah. And you go, damn, I haven't done anything this week, or I haven't put in any effort to any of these things that I want to be considerate of in my life. Yeah.
And I think, being able to sit and reflect on things, and also then from that set goals for how you want that next quarter, 6 months, year to go. Like I sat down the other day and wrote down the goals that I want for 2024. And the way I find that I can follow them the best is if I put a number to it. So like say if it's journaling, it's to journal for 200 days of the year. So from today, it'll be day 1. And then if I miss a day, like obviously it won't go from like day 13 to day 15 if I miss a day. It's still day 14. Yeah. So it's like, if I get to the end of the year and I've not done the 200, that like I've made a mistake. Because obviously there's some days you literally can't do it because shit happens, and you're not around to do it, and that's fine. But it's like providing that achievable numerical goal, I think helps in achieving these things. Like if you go, I want to run a marathon, you're probably not going to do it because you've not given yourself a time frame to do it. But if you go, I want to run a marathon in 6 months, there's 6 months there. Yeah. And the end date of that.
Yeah, that's pretty important, I think, for sure. That's one of the reasons why the Ultraman is, I don't want to learn how to swim. I want to learn how to swim 10K and be able to do everything after the 10K by May. Yeah. Yeah, I think having the date is definitely important.
Oh shit! So, wait, yeah, 5 months. Fuck me, like that. That's gonna be fucking tough on that.
Yeah, I was pretty worried, but this last week was the first time I've been able to put a wetsuit on and swim in the ocean and swim in a lake, and I did my first 2 kilometer swim, and I didn't feel completely fucked afterwards. So I think as long as I keep the training as what I'm doing consistent, I think I'll be fine. I don't think I'll be battling for the 6 hour cutoff. I think I'll be okay.
Yeah. So as well, you did a lot of the stuff you've done. You've been raising money for the Black Dog Institute, haven't you? So tell us why you're raising money for them, and also what they do that in particular you were like, I have to do this for them.
Yeah. Well, my sister committed suicide when I was 19.
Mm-hmm.
So to be fair, I've never really been much of a charity person or anything along those lines. But when I knew that there was an opportunity that I could do this Antarctica run, and I thought, well, there's absolutely no way I can do it for anything other than mental health and suicide prevention, which is what they do. And when I was looking at the different organizations, I like them the most, particularly because they are the only people doing research towards that.
Okay.
And the way I see it is, I think there's a study that says it takes 25 years from research to become commonplace practice. So I think the more research you can do, the better we're going to be in the long term.
Yeah, this is a thing. Like, obviously, having worked in research and seen how long it takes for things to be implemented is, it is literally years. And I think the cause you're doing it for as well, like, because that's a very like personal one for me, and that's like why I became so interested in your story, because obviously the whole suicide thing, and like I was going to do my own episode on it where like I go into my experience, because I basically attempted it about 7-8 months ago now, around then, like darkest time of my life. And then it's crazy because when you're in it, you don't feel like you can ever get out of it, and you don't feel like there's any support there.
Yeah, of course.
And then it was like afterwards, because I actually, it was during that I started journaling, because I was like, because I like had my knee surgery and stuff, and it was like I was basically couch bound, couldn't do a fucking thing. So I started doing stuff like that, and it was like I sat and read some of the things I wrote. I was like, fuck, there's actually ways. Like, obviously when you're in it, it's so hard to see past it, but like there's so many ways you can help yourself out of it. And like that for me was one of them. And then obviously like reaching out to friends and what have you, and all that kind of thing. But I like your story was just like, it was one of those I was like, I've got to have him on, because it's like to raise money for such like a good cause. And then obviously you've raised nearly $28,000 of your 30,000 total. Like you fucking smashed it. Like it's crazy.
Well, I think fingers crossed there should be one more donation that comes that should put it over 30. So hopefully, I'm pretty keen.
Yeah, that's good. In terms of like working with them and stuff like that, you've said in interviews that you never used to really take your mental health that seriously. You didn't really understand it. So what was it that, like, was it that moment in your life where your sister committed suicide that you were like, I need to start looking at, like, reflecting on myself? Or was it like later on that you were like, I've got to, fix this?
I think it was much later on. When I was 19, like I'm 26 now. 19 feels like a long time ago. And in terms of maturity, it was long ago. So I think at 19, I had absolutely no idea about mental health. And it's obvious to me now because I look back on it, I didn't know anything about my sister's conditions. I had no idea that she had any problems at all. It was I just really didn't know anything about anything. And once she committed suicide and we had to go through the grieving process and do all that, I still didn't know anything about it. And I think it's only as mental health has been a lot more prevalent in society today than it was, 7 years ago or whatever. It's just slowly learning bits and pieces. And the more that I read and the more that I learn is the more that, I don't know, I feel better. And that's where all the stuff on the Instagram comes from. It's just me regurgitating all the little things. And I'm like, oh, fuck, that's a good way to think about it. Maybe someone else might like that. Or maybe someone else might get some useful tips out of maybe something that I've thought about. Because I think it's reframing in just general is really difficult to do if you're in a specific mindset, I think. So I think right now I'm in a really good mindset. I'm really proud of the mindset that I've cultivated, and I see things in so many different lights that I hope that maybe I see something and I say, hey, maybe you shouldn't think about it like this. Maybe you should try thinking about it like this. And there's plenty of times when people do that to me and I think, fuck, that's such a good way to think about it. And, it puts things in such a different light.
It's like I had a conversation with an adventurer called Will Copestake, and I was talking to him about how, because obviously when you're on long expeditions and things like that, obviously your moods can change pretty drastically. And something that he said in that I took on board because I thought it was really valuable, and it's so small. It was every day when he's writing in his journal, he writes down on a scale of 1 to 10 how he feels. And then daily, you can then put that on a chart and figure out like, so, it's okay to have a bad day, but if you're having continuous bad days, why are you having them? Like, what is it? Is it this really shit weather? Like, in his case, like, is it the shit weather? Has he got an injury as he's doing it? Like that kind of thing. Is that what's causing it? Or is it like something deep down that's like, you need to change?
Yeah, you need to start to work through.
Yeah, and like just literally writing down a number between 1 and 10 every day.
That's an interesting way to do it. Do you do that with your journaling?
I do it now, yeah. Because it's like, with that, like I usually do it of an evening. So I've had the full day to sort of like sit. Because sometimes in the morning I feel like you can wake up in a certain mood and it's like, it's just not reflective of how you actually feel.
Yeah.
Whereas when it's the end of the day, like I can sit there and be like, okay, how has my day actually been? And sometimes like, you're right for, because it's like, I've not done enough to work towards the things I want to work towards.
Yeah.
And that's on me. But it could literally be something like, the other week I got stuck in like 4 hours of traffic. That's shit. It's just shit that happens that like, it does make your day a bit shitter, but also that's when you can kind of write off. It's not a big thing. Whereas like the ones where it's like, I need to work on this, you know that's what you have to work on to get there kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good little one. That's a good little one.
Yeah, maybe start it. But yeah, so obviously with it being New Year's as well, so you've got your goal of the Ultraman coming up in May. What other things have you sort of got that you want to work towards this year? That like not resolutions, but what sort of goals and things are you trying to achieve?
Well, I started this last year, but every year I'm going to make sort of like a theme for the year. So last year's theme was all about personal development, and this year's theme is all about consistency. Okay. So for me, I think being consistent has been really positive, has been such a positive impact on the tail end of last year, as in the 160 days in a row running and being reasonably consistent with the content output. And I only see benefits to being consistent. So I think this year is where the consistency is my biggest focus. And that comes along with training is probably primarily.
Yeah, primarily.
Primarily?
We got there.
Yeah, we'll go there. Primarily the focus with the training, particularly at the moment, obviously with swimming, just trying to learn how to swim. Content creation is pretty up there with the consistency. But yeah, it's also with that is the consistently pushing myself to see what the next ceiling is. So the Ultraman is first up this year. That's taken up all of my attention right now. I think probably Gold Coast Marathon. I want to see if I can go sub 3 hours, which is I got to drop 32 minutes. So we'll see. I think it's a pretty ambitious goal.
It's been done. People do it. They do it. So you never know.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. I don't consider myself a very good runner compared to other people. Not fast, at least, anyway. Yeah. So that's going to be a pretty ambitious one, I think. The end of the year is the King of the Hill, Hardcore Harry's King of the Hill. Okay. I think it's a last man standing, 3.2K loop, up a hill, down a hill, up a hill, and back around.
Fuck me.
So it might be my first last man standing. So that's been a big goal of mine to see how far I can go. I would love to do plus 24 hours.
I think they're really interesting because I feel like at the start, when people start to drop off, that's just like, if people will always drop off. But then when it's down to, say, the final 10, that's a battle.
That is an absolute battle.
Because that's where people are like, I am not fucking leaving unless I drop. And I feel like say if there's 100 people racing, the first 90 will drop off like pretty quickly. So those last 10, that's where you're spending your longest amount of time.
Yeah, I'm pretty keen for that one. I've wanted to do a last man standing for a while, so this is going to be a good one. It would be cool to do another one earlier in the year, but I don't think I'll be able to fit it in anywhere, because then I want to see if I can stick 100-miler in there somewhere. But more importantly, I'm going to run Sydney to Melbourne towards the end of the year, maybe September.
So that's 800k, right?
Yeah, I'm going to try and, well, I don't know, 800 to 1100, whatever route you take.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try and do it 100 Ks a day. I want to do it as a bit of a prep for maybe a longer run later on.
That'd be an interesting one. That definitely would. So, like, logistically, how would you go about that? Because obviously you need a team for that.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that one a fair bit. My old man's retired, so I'm hoping maybe he could tag along. He could maybe tag along for it.
Yeah.
I'm building a like a camper truck at the moment.
Okay.
Because I have a bus. His name's Barry. And I got a truck now, like a work truck, big long tray on it.
Yeah.
And I want to build that into a camper and potentially use that as a support vehicle. Otherwise, maybe we could get some mad sponsors in and just hotel it every night, because I suppose it's only a bit over a week. But I don't know. We'll see how we go. I haven't thought a lot about that one. I just know it's
happening.
It's happening.
Yeah. So in terms of, like, obviously trying to get sponsors and things like that, what are you reaching out to a lot of companies and, you know, obviously writing the little promo to them? Because, like, obviously me doing a podcast, I send hundreds of emails to people, and it's just like, it's the longest task in the world to do, but it obviously has to be done. And for yourself, doing, you know, sponsorship is a necessary thing for big events like that. So how do you go about that with them?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say not very well at the moment. So, like, for the Antarctica one, I did end up getting a fair few businesses, which I'm really proud of, our partnerships, and they all went to donating because I just wanted to raise as much money as possible. So now I'm going to have to flip the script a little bit and start to get them to pay for, because I'm not made of money, that's for sure. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm going to have to send a lot of emails this year, and hopefully we can find some really good sponsors. I met a guy, Louis Alexander, that did the Antarctica Marathon as well. You should actually interview him. He's a really interesting dude.
Okay, I'll have a look at it.
But he's a professional explorer.
Okay.
Which sounds like bullshit.
Nah, I've had a few of them on. I've had a few.
It sounds like bullshit, but when I heard it, I was like, what the fuck is a professional explorer? But he gets paid to advertise for these companies that let him do these wicked adventures, and I'd be lying if I couldn't say that I would love to do something like that.
Yeah. This is it. I had Charlie Walker on. He's a professional explorer. And he got big because he ended up on Joe Rogan, because he got arrested in Russia because they thought he was a spy. It was as the war broke out. And they thought he was a spy, and he was in prison for, like, I think it was a month.
Jesus.
And, like, obviously his story sort of blew up. But yeah, his thing is, like, he cycled across Africa years ago. He did the Eurasia border, like, traveled the entire length of that. Like, he does these crazy long expeditions.
Yeah.
And before him, I was like, professional explorer doesn't sound like a real thing. I feel like it's bullshit. But like, genuinely, they just get paid to do that. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah. I would like to do that, but more endurance, not explorer.
Yeah.
I just imagine if I didn't work for 12 hours, how much better I would be as an athlete. And I'm like, fuck, that would be sick. Because
it's like, I bet when you've come in from your 10, 15K run, whatever, and you're like, oh, I've got to do recovery. Now I'll just sack it off to, like, it's one of those things, because it's like an added 30, 40 minutes. And then but then it's like, you know, if you're doing your mobility, your stretching, what have you, you're then missing out on the sleep that you need to get. So it's like, it's a catch-22 situation, because if you have one, you still can't have full of the other.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're always missing out on something.
Yeah. For me, the sleep is more important than anything else. Absolutely. So there is no recovery. There's just fucking sleep.
Yeah.
But I do think about that a lot, and I would love to quit my job and just do this full time, but we'll see. It doesn't pay the bills just yet.
Yeah. I bet you're like Cam Hanes at the minute, where your legs are just like fucking bricks. No mobility whatsoever.
Yeah, probably.
Hasn't seen a 90-90 in like fucking 5 years or something. Like, but yeah, so, and then in terms of like the content creation as well, I'm interested in that, because obviously with you working all these hours, and then you're obviously out and trying to get your runs done, and then if you are like trying to eat and what have you, how did you learn to edit? Was that during COVID? And then B, keeping the consistency of that, even when you're working and you're obviously doing long hours, and it's so easy to just go, oh fuck it, I'll post it tomorrow. Like, how are you getting through that?
Yeah, I think COVID was a pretty formative time. You're bang on. I learned how to edit during COVID. I wouldn't say I'm any fucking very good editor, but I'm good enough to get by.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was heavily invested into photography and videography. And before I was doing running, I was making content for that. And fuck, man, it's hard to be consistent with that kind of stuff because it's got to be so polished and it's got to look nice. And I was doing all that sort of stuff and I found it so difficult. And then when I started this page, it was never difficult ever again. It was, I just love talking about this shit so much that it is so easy to make the content. Like I think about before when I was doing photography stuff, it was really hard to think of ideas. It was really hard to get the activation energy to go and do these things. And now I have ideas coming to me 24/7 because it's the kind of thing that I'm already thinking about throughout the day, different things that I'm seeing and I'm reframing, and I see different people doing things and I think about, and it's all just coming to me. I'm just writing all of it down, and yeah, it's really easy to make the content. It's difficult to be consistent, and I started a little bit doing some batch recordings, but I think doing the 160 days running in a row, that consistency has taught me a lot about other consistency and how bad you really want things and how much effort you're really willing to put in. Because the more I think about it, the more I look at, say, how long I've spent looking at my shoes or how long I've spent looking at my phone, I think I could have just edited a reel right there, or I could have recorded something, or I could have sat there and done something else other than absolutely fucking nothing.
Yeah.
So the more I get better with the consistency, the more I realize how much more output I actually have to give.
Yeah. And it's like for me doing this, it's that like when I obviously saw you were in Ireland, I was like, fuck, I need to get this done.
Yeah.
But then there was that thing in the back of my head, I was like, oh, but there's the cost of the flights and all this. So I was like, what the fuck does it matter? Like if I want it that bad, I'll do it. Like it's that kind of thing. And it's like, again, like with Rob Poe, calling all the pubs in the area, just trying to find somewhere to interview him.
Exactly.
And it's like, if you want it enough, you will make the effort to get it done, kind of thing.
Exactly. I've heard Stephen Bartlett on Diary of a CEO talk about, I think it was the activation energy scale and what was the other scale? It was, like your why? Like how hard is it and how much do you want to do it?
Yeah. And
if it's not hard, and you don't really want to do it, you might do it. But if it's not hard and you really want to do it, you'll do it every time. But if it's hard and you don't really want to do it, like you'll never do it. So it's like balancing that sort of equation to make something as easy as it possibly can be for you to begin.
Yeah.
I think about that a lot with creating the content. Is like all of it's on my phone. I'm probably a better editor on my laptop and I can make better stuff, but it's how quickly can I churn it out? How easily can I make it if I just do it on my phone? It's like, it's so easy. It doesn't, you don't have to put that much effort in. And if you don't put that much effort in, you punch out more content, you get to spread words that you think might help people more. And if that's not the end of the game, like that, if that's not the game that you're playing, then you're playing the wrong game, I think.
And that's the thing as well. Like when I started learning how to edit the video, audio, the reels, all that for this, it was so fucking hard at the start. Like it's draining because, you know, when you're just making mistake after mistake and you're like, am I ever going to get this done? And then now it's at a point where, like with the theme of the reels that I have, I know exactly what to do step by step. Like it can do it second nature, but it's then like, sometimes it just becomes, because I like say for a podcast, I'll produce like 6 reels and it's doing the same monotonous task over and over. I'm like, fuck. It's just long. But then I'm like, no, it's for the purpose of like, if I don't do the reels, it doesn't get the exposure. And then if I don't get the exposure, it don't get like bigger and better guests on who are coming on all the time and stuff. And it's like, it's fine. I think it's with that balancing that, like how much do you want it and how hard is it? It's like, it's finding the purpose to make it, if it's hard, to make it worthwhile. I think it's like, it's finding that why behind why you would do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think without that why, you're stuck doing fuck all. I think it's the same reason why when people lose a lot of weight, they start dieting, they're eating healthy, and then once they lose all that weight, that why slowly diminishes, and then they balloon back out again, and you go, well, now you got your why back, so you got to go do it again. It's a repeated cycle, but really they use that initial why, now they need to find a new why of why they continue to do the things that they want to do.
It's like Tyson Fury is the greatest example of that. You know, his entire life was dedicated to being a world champion. And when he achieved it, he was like, what now? There was no why anymore.
Yeah.
And that's when he fell off the rails. He gained like 200 pounds and, you know, he almost died as a result of it. And then he came back to boxing, lost all the weight, became a world champion again. But then the thing is with him, because like obviously there's some things where you can constantly find a why and it's beneficial. But in his case, like, it's such a tough one because he's in a sport where you can die and you can end up with injuries which can affect you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And obviously he's got a family and kids to think about, but because he can't find a why in anything else, he keeps coming back to this sport, which is slowly, you know, killing him in a way. And it's like, sometimes it's like, you've got to get away from the thing that gave you the why in the first place and find something new.
Yeah.
Because it just might not serve you anymore.
Yeah, but fuck, he's one of the best boxers of all time.
He is, but like, do you want to see the man at like 50 in a wheelchair, you know, because he's got like brain injuries left and right? Like,
yeah, well, you see Shaquille O'Neal DJing. He's got to get that Game 7 energy.
That's it.
We need to get a DJ set up for the Gypsy King.
Can you imagine it? Fuck me.
Get it, you big dosser.
He'd be fucking riot, he would, honestly. Jesus. But yeah, it's like, I don't know, some things like, you know, if it's for me when I was running, so my knee injury was a result of like I couldn't help it. Basically, my kneecap was in two pieces, but essentially because of that, one of them was mobile, and because of running for so many years, playing football and what have you, it was rubbing bone on bone and it like messed up the ligaments in my knee. So running, I had to find another why, because it was like running was my thing. I was like, I fucking love this.
Yeah.
And then it was like, that's why I then took up swimming, because I was like, fuck, I need something else, because if I don't have anything else, I've got nothing.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's finding those things that are like, they keep you sane, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
And without them, like, you know, it's fucking, like, I've seen it firsthand where, so the population I was working with in my PhD, a lot of them, so it's a population anyway that are, you know, they have higher rates of depression, they tend to drink more, smoke more, you know, negative habits. And speaking to a lot of them, I'd be like, so what do you do? Not much. Like, and I'm like, no hobbies? Nah, I watch Netflix. I'm like, straight away, it's the problem. Like,
yeah.
You set like stuff like that where you don't have either a creative outlet or a physical outlet.
Yeah.
I feel like you're finished straight away.
Yeah, well, it's an easy opportunity for you then to say, well, what do I have to live for if there's nothing else other than fucking watching Netflix? You know what I mean? Yeah. I hope everyone gets something, but you're right, physical or creative, something that just stimulates you, that you get to wake up and say, fuck yeah, it'd be good to go for a run today. It'd be good to fucking do the Sudoku, whatever it is.
Yeah, literally. It's like it, and that's why like I did the podcast, because the work I was doing there was no creative outlet. Like it was quite structured. So having this was like, I had free reign to do whatever I wanted, ask whatever questions I want. Someone wants to turn around and go, I'm not answering that, that's fine. Like, at least I tried. And, you know, I've had some people turn around and do exactly that, but then others have asked the question, and they're like, that's a really good fucking question.
Yeah.
And it's like, and you also then, you know, you figure it's that figuring out, like, right, what part of this hour, and what have we been going for here? Like, hour and 5 minutes. What of that hour and 5 minutes, how am I going to get 5 clips? Like, which are going to be the best ones to post online, kind of thing. And it's like figuring stuff like that out. I just feel like it stimulates the brain in a completely different way to like just your normal day-to-day job. If that makes sense. You know, it becomes the routine.
Yeah, you're just going through the motions.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not healthy. That's there's is it Jesse Schultz or something? It's an entrepreneur.
Jesse
Itzler.
Wrote.
Yeah, that's the one. I fucking can never say his last name. So I'll let someone else say it.
Yeah.
But he has this deal is like do one hard thing a year. And I fucking vibe with that so much. After doing Antarctica, I see how much my life changed just from that one event. It has just cascaded a whole bunch of different things to happen in my life. And I think, fuck, next year, what's the next big thing? Or what's another big thing? Something that could also be such a catalyst for change or be an opportunity to learn something completely different.
Yeah.
So I always think about that, people that don't have a goal or don't have something that they're looking forward to other than a fucking holiday.
Yeah.
I think, you got to challenge yourself.
See, I used to be very much like that. It used to be just like holiday. The goal was the holiday. And then it's all well and good exploring places and doing things like that, but eventually you do get to a point where it's the hedonic treadmill almost. You're doing a little bit more, seeking that little bit more dopamine, but it doesn't really hit you as much as it did the first time. Like, when I first landed in Australia and moved there, I was like, because everything was so different, I was like, what in the fuck? Like, it's just so different. But then, like, obviously, I came back here, I went back, and it was that gone. It just, that feeling had gone. And it was like, people get that with it. Like, obviously with being on your phone all the time, you're just on that hedonic treadmill. And I think even if it doesn't even have to be a big thing. If it's just something like, I want to learn a new skill.
Yeah.
Like, I want to go and learn to surf. Go and fucking do it. Like, but a lot of people, it's like, I want to. I'm like, go on then. And they're like, well, I've got this to do and I've got work. I'm like, fucking hell, you're never going to do it then, are you?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of excuses that can be made for literally anything.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody makes excuses. You and I both, I imagine. I make excuses all the time.
I do. So often.
But it's it's being able to, it's just a mindset thing. It only takes one click where you're like, fuck, I can do that, or I can try that. Or you do it and you're like, oh, I'm actually not as bad as I thought I was. Or that activation energy that it took me to try, oh, it wasn't even that bad. It was all in my head where I'm thinking, oh, I don't want to put my shoes on. Oh, I don't want to go swimming. I suck. People will laugh at me. And then you do it and you're like, oh, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Yeah. And it was all in my head.
It's like posting your first, like, for me, the first podcast, for you, probably the first video you posted online. I sat on that for months, shitting myself, like thinking everyone's going to say something. And like, I was like, there's just going to be, people are just going to give me shit for it and this and that. And then I did it and it was just nothing. But it's literally, you build it up in your head. Yeah. And it's just, the excuses, they're not even real. Like, it's just, you've just got this idea in your head that you're putting yourself off being where you want to be based on nothing.
Exactly. And it seems crazy to me because you would get that satisfaction of talking to fucking some really amazing guests, like cool people. And then what's hanging you up about talking to more cool people is, oh, I wonder what fucking Gemma down the road's going to say. It's like, fuck that bitch.
Literally.
You get to talk to some wicked people and have these crazy good experiences that you'll be able to take forever. And you'll be sitting at the bar one day, you'll be like, oh, I met this fucking guy.
This is it.
He ran across America 5 times, and that's an experience that nobody else will have apart from you because you put yourself out there. You got to do all these, you put in the work to be able to be in that position to do that.
And this is it. Like, I would never have met you if I didn't ask you to do the interview. And it's like the amount of people that you get to meet as a result of that. And then for you as well, like the people you're running the races with, like the people in Antarctica, like I bet there's some of the craziest fucking people you've ever met in your life, and you're like, I would never have met them if I didn't put this work in to get to this point. Kind of
exactly. Well, it goes both ways. Like, I would have never met you if you'd never reached out, if I'd never done this. The same as, you're right, the people in Antarctica fucking, I do a marathon. Yeah, no dramas, man. All the people around me normally is like, do a marathon.
Yeah, it's so funny because like, it's like my dad was baffled that I was just flying to Belfast for a day. I'm like, it's 30 minutes. Like, but because of the way his life and world is, that's a massive thing to just get on a flight for a day. And I'm like, it's just like, that's just now feel like a normal thing.
Yeah.
But like, people get so stuck in like that. It's like small town, isn't it? It's like, small town thing. Like, they don't see outside of that. And if like, there's always like the one guy who does this, and you're now like the one guy who does the fucking marathons all the time. And it's like, they see it and they're like, oh, it's not achievable. When it really fucking is. If you break it down to the very start, it's so achievable for people to go and do it.
Yeah. The more I hear people say that's crazy, the more I see into their brain straight away and say, it's not crazy to run a marathon. Think about how many, probably thousands and thousands and thousands of people run a marathon every year, probably even their first one. It is not a crazy adventure to do that. And if you hear someone say that's crazy, or you're crazy, or I can't believe you did that, the first thing I think is, oh man, that sucks.
Yeah.
You need to change your mindset because you're looking too low. You're thinking that something is crazy and it's not achievable for you. And really it is 100% achievable for everybody to train and run a marathon.
It's putting yourself in a box that you don't even realize you're in.
Yeah, and it's come straight from your language. It's the same way when you say, I have to do this, I have to do that, when it should be, I get to do this, I get to do that. And I think about the language that we use all the time. And when you're talking about next year, like, I'm going to try and do this, like I will do that, and I will do this. And it changes a very big thing in your brain. The same way as when I decided I'm going to do this Ultraman, and I thought, well, fuck, I can't swim. And then I started saying, I can't swim yet.
Yeah.
And I'm not a very good swimmer yet. And that for me has been a pretty big help, because how many years have I been telling myself I can't swim? I drown. I'm scared of the water. I don't like it when I can't touch the bottom. How many times have I said that? And now it only takes a lot of effort to say yet at the end of it. But it changes the whole mindset from I will never swim to I'm not there yet.
So when did you start picking up on like the language you were using? Was that through the gratitude journal? Or was that like just in general you realized like I'm like, because I'll admit like that's one thing I need to get better at is I use a lot of negative language.
Yeah.
That it does it like you don't even realize it, but subconsciously it does hinder what you do.
Yeah, exactly. There's a podcast called The Mindset Mentor with Rob Dial Jr. Very, very good podcast that I used to listen to religiously. And it talks a lot about the way you speak to yourself and stuff like that. And the more I thought about it, the more I started picking up on it. And I'd pick up on other people, the way that they spoke about themselves. And it would make me a little bit sad when I'd hear someone be like, oh, I could never do that. Or this is you can do that. Or you have this privilege that you have this body that can do that. I could never possibly do that. And the more you notice it, the more it is blaringly obvious to you. And the more you change your habits to associate yourself.
Yeah. Yes. And like for myself, like I know, so I've like last year I wanted to do a marathon, and it was because of the injury that I couldn't do it. Like it was just like there was a point where before surgery, going up and down stairs, I was like a fucking OAP. Like there was no way I was going up and down stairs. I was taking the lift everywhere. Like it was fucked. Whereas now, like I'm back running. Like I did my first 5K in 10 months on Christmas Day.
Fuck yeah.
And it was like that feeling. I was like, I'm fucking back. Like, I'm going for this shit. So like my birthday's in May, and the goal is like on my birthday, I'm like first marathon. That's when I want to do it.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. And it's
Where are
like,
you going to do it?
just wherever.
Wherever?
Yeah. Like I'm not, because this is my thing also. I like events, but also like my birthday's on I think a Tuesday. There's not going to be a race on a Tuesday. So I'm just gonna get out there. I'll probably be like, because I hate my birthday, hate it. So like I usually go away and fill my day with as much shit as possible, and that'll probably fill my day.
Yeah, that'll fill majority of your day.
Yeah, but I want to do it like abroad. I think somewhere in Europe, just like Barcelona, along the beach, just somewhere nice.
Along the beach.
Yeah, mate.
Beaches are windy, but
but add a little challenge to it.
That would be nice. Do it on the sand, then you pussy.
I'll just run through the fucking water, shall I?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like like that's like it's putting that numerical value on it. Like my birthday, I know it's the 21st of May. That's the day I've got to be prepared for. And even if I walk the last 10K of it, I'm gonna fucking do it, because I have it there now.
Yeah.
And I've put it off for way too long, whether it be through injury or just being an absolute pussy. And I'm like, that is going to be, if I have to walk the full thing, I will.
Yeah.
Like, it's just got to be done kind of thing.
Yeah, well, that's a good mindset to take into it.
Yeah. Well, could be good. Could end up in another injury, but who knows? We'll fucking...
Yeah, but you'll finish the marathon.
Exactly. It's all right, I'll crawl it. I'll just go to hospital afterwards. It'll be sweet.
You only have to do it once.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but isn't it, you do it once, you end up doing it about 50 times, because it's that, like, you want to do better every single time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
For your first marathon, like, so... when you finished it, was that like, were you almost that like, I've done that now? Or was it I want to do another and I want to get better?
Yeah, faster straight away. Because when I did my first marathon, it was just by myself. Well, actually, I did most of my marathons just being by myself. So I've only done the Melbourne Marathon in 2023 and the Antarctica. They're the only official ones I've done. So I did one in COVID 1 week, and then the very next week I did another one. And then I tried to do another one, and then I hurt my knee. So I tried to do 3 in 3 weeks, but I hurt my knee in the last one. But as soon as I did the first one, it was easily the hardest thing I'd ever done running, because I'd never run anything close to a marathon before. And I had no idea about training, nutrition, I didn't know you're supposed to eat gels or fucking
Yeah.
absolute anything. I was just running and just trying to see if I could do it. So the first one was pretty nice, but as soon as I did it, I was already in that mindset where I was running, 5 days a week, and I was just running as hard as I could on every run.
Yeah.
So then the next week I tried to go again. I think I was slower the second one, and the third one I got injured.
Fuck. Yeah, because that's actually what set my knee off, like, originally. So it's been a problem for a couple of years, and it was because when I started running, I was just going, like, I was running like 7-minute miles. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, looking back on it, I'm like, what the fuck was I doing that for? Like, who am I trying to impress here? Like, running that quick. And like now, like, I've started back running again. I'm like 10-minute, 11-minute a mile, just chilling, coasting, like, just loving it.
What's a mile to kilometer?
Oh, fucking hell.
What's a 7-minute mile?
I think it's like 7-minute mile. I think is about, you're talking like 4:30 a kilometer, maybe a bit less.
That's too fast.
Yeah,
That's way too fast.
too fast. And like now I'm like 11 minutes. Yeah, 11 minutes to
That's like 7 or something then?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's slow.
That's
I'm
good.
I'm just chilling.
Slow and steady.
Yes.
But that's everyone's first problem when they start, is they try and run as fast as they can because they think about everybody else looking at them run.
Yeah.
Like, I watched my good mate lose all that weight. Now I've got another good mate who's trying to do the same, and he's did his first 5K, which is fucking awesome. It's cool to watch one guy do it, and now I get to watch another guy do it.
Yeah.
Jason McCain, fucking shout out. I want to see him drop a bunch of weight and run. But it's cool to
Called him out now.
Yeah. It's better do it. But it's cool to watch, but also we got like a little running group chat, and you can see the same, like, oh, I'm not running fast enough, or I'm not doing that. And it's cool because there's guys now around that are like, no, slow it the fuck down, almost walk, keep it, everything. So it's cool because I wish I had that, and I'm glad that I can at least do a little bit of that for somebody else. Yeah.
So in terms of injuries and stuff as well, because obviously with running 160 days in a row and doing the marathons, obviously you said you fucked your knee, but after, when you got back into running again, like, have you had any injuries since then, and like how have you been dealing with them to keep the running streak going and also keep on top of prep for like Antarctica and things?
Yeah, that was probably one of the things I was worried about most, because my recovery is virtually fuck all. I'm not, like, I do an ice bath when I'm back in Melbourne. That was probably the best thing I ever bought, but I only bought that just before, I don't know, October, and then I haven't been back in Melbourne since then. So
Yeah. So it's been useless.
This
prep,
I used it for about a week. And then I packed it up and left.
That week's sorted for the entire prep.
Yeah. I haven't really had any injuries apart from I really fucked both my knees when I did a marathon a day for 7 days. And it really sucked because it was in the very first marathon that I fucked my right knee.
Oh.
And I was scared about posting the first video saying that I was doing the challenge and that the first day was done, because I was like, fuck, I'm hurt already.
Yeah.
Should I post it? I kind of feel like if I post it, I have to do these 7.
Yeah.
And what if I fail? And I was actually pretty scared, to be honest. But then I was like, fuck it, just posted it. And then, I just struggled all 7 of those marathons. And then it made me think about people who'd done 150 in a row. And I thought, fuck me dead, man. I did first one, my right knee hurt. Then every day my right knee was playing up from about the 30K mark, and it was just pure pain. There was one day the right hip flexor was gone, and I had to walk about 15 Ks. That was on day 6. That was just absolute pain. And then day 7, it didn't bother me, and I just powered through it. So I don't know. I'm really just powering through everything. But thankfully, I haven't had anything that's been a real showstopper except for those ones during that. And the 100K run, I had a bit of knee pain as well. I started mucking around a bit with Ben Patrick's
knees over toes.
Yeah, knees over toe guys. Anyway, yeah. I don't know if that's really done a lot because I haven't been super consistent with it, but when my knee did hurt, I banged on that so consistently.
To be fair, it does wonders. Like, because my knee after surgery, my range was limited to, like, you're talking 180 to here. So I had to get like the full range, and now, like, so I can sit in, like, it's called like the Caesar position, where you sit on like the top, on your shins and the tops of your feet, and sit back, so you're in like full knee flexion. And it's like, but doing stuff that from his like program and what have you, like, to godsend. like it's not for everyone, and I don't think it's like the be all and end all of like, you know, training, but this, because at the end of the day, he addresses things that no one else does, hip flexors and tib anterior. Like no one addresses that shit.
Yeah, no one talks about that. And when I listened to his podcast with Joe Rogan, he also mentioned about the 25-year a gap between learning things in research and then actually implementing them. And I thought, fuck, man, this guy is way ahead of the curve in that industry. So I think he definitely knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So,
and the thing is as well, he's one of the very few people who work in the industry who actually focus on triple flexion, which is like, obviously you've got your triple extension in running, but no one ever focuses on that triple flexion, that knee drive, and you know, getting the hip flexion, your tib anterior working and things like that. And he's like probably the first person I saw who was like, no, this is so important. And you know, like getting people focused on that is like, it's massive for preventing injuries, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely something I need to work a lot more on this coming year, is his regime, and I want to work a lot more on barefoot running and strengthening the feet.
See, barefoot stuff, I love it. I absolutely love it. Like, I have had the same pair of barefoot shoes for like 4 years, and they are fucked. But I refuse to get rid of them because like I've hiked mountains in them, like literally done so much in them, and it's like they're so, once you adapt to it, like, because I got them because, again, another surgery, I'm injury prone as fuck. So I had like foot surgery and I lost the range of movement in my big toe, and your big toe is like the most important one. And the doctor said to me, he was like, yeah, you're not getting that range back. I was like, go fuck yourself, I'm getting that back as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So started doing a lot of like basically foot strengthening, like whether it be like towel, like grabbing a towel with my toes, or like just squats, like standing on the toes and stuff like that, into like it's like a terminal knee extension, but like you go from a standing position to your knees touching the floor while your hips are like extended. It's like I was doing some mad shit to get there, and then it was like I got into the barefoot movement. I was like, oh, that's the shit you need.
Yeah. I read the book Born to Run by Christopher someone.
I still need to read that. I've been recommended it so many times.
It's a really good read.
Okay.
And once I read that, I was like, fuck, there's no way I can't go barefoot now. So I bought a pair of Tarkine primals.
Yeah.
I tried them a couple times, but they're back in Australia. I haven't been back there for a couple
Just
months
using
now.
that as an excuse now.
Yeah.
You could have taken the ice bath, the shoes, everything over with you, but you fucking didn't. Is what it is.
Oh, lazy prick. But yeah, it's something I want to get a lot more into. There's another product called Soulmate. I think I can't remember who it's by, but it's like a little cork thing with some elastic bands and shit.
Yeah, I know what you're on about.
Yeah, I want to get a lot more into it. I'd love to run some marathons barefoot. I think that'd be really cool as well.
Yeah, I can't remember the guy's name who does it in sandals. He does like, he'll go and run a marathon on a mountain in sandals. I'm like, you're just asking for shit here.
Yeah.
Like, because it's fucking crazy to be able to get to that point. Like, you know, because at the end of the day, like you look at the running shoes and the evolution of running shoes, like the heel, like the drop was never needed. It was a marketing ploy to get people to buy the shoes.
Yeah.
And then when it turned out we actually don't need to heel strike because it's actually decelerative in nature, like, and you're like, oh shit, I could actually just have zero drop shoes, and like we'd never needed like this massive stack height on the shoe and stuff like that. And because I used to run like heel, what would you call it? Back foot first rather than forefoot.
Yeah.
And changing to forefoot like absolutely changed it for me.
Yeah.
Because then a lot of that was learning through like barefoot motion as well, because it's like it's almost that like, because it's like a spring then rather than like you just hitting the brakes every single time. It makes you feel so much better.
Yeah, I'm really interested in it. It's one of those things that I look at and I'm thinking, obviously this is what we were meant to do. But I also think running shoes make you heaps fucking faster. So I think I want to implement barefoot running into my training, flat bicky, and try and get really strong feet, and then only use the like the fast runners during the races. Because I think there's a balance where you can mix and match, and it's going to make me a lot faster. But at the same time, I probably need to just run more.
Yeah. Well, this is it though as well. Like the race shoes. So I had Becky Briggs on, who's like professional marathon runner.
Yeah, legend.
And she was telling me that it's something like, so the ones with the carbon fiber plates, they only last like 60k at full performance. So like you really only get one race out of them.
Yeah.
But you see people walking around in them like on like shopping and stuff, and I'm like,
They're
what?
uncomfortable to walk around in those race shoes.
Yeah, I don't understand how people do it. I mean, you feel like you could literally sprint anywhere and do anything, but like to walk around in them and stuff, and then like you see people using them as like a daily runner, and they don't realise that it's like you've just put a cast on your foot with the carbon fibre plate because your foot cannot move, can't do anything in that.
No, it's interesting. It is very interesting.
So obviously we've been going now for like what, an hour and 20 odd. I don't want to take too much more of your time because obviously your girlfriend's gone out and just left us be. But yeah, I have one final question that I always ask everyone, and that is, how would you like to be remembered?
Yeah, that's a good question. I heard this on old mate who's the
Forrest Gump.
Yeah, Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's made a lot of sense where he talked about being remembered for being just a stand-up guy.
Yeah.
I would like that. But I think I would like to be remembered as a reasonably normal person that just had a crack. And I think we can all look at someone who just has a crack and be able to say, I can fucking do that. That guy's more special than me, and I don't think I am any more special than anybody else. Yeah, I think just a normal guy who had a crack.
I love it. Nice one. Appreciate you coming on.
Cheers, brother. I appreciate it.
Nice one.
I hope you enjoyed that episode with Alex. He's an amazing person, an amazing philosophy behind what he's doing, and I wish him all the best in the future. I can't wait till I get out to Melbourne in October and I can do another episode with him and chat, hopefully, about his Ultraman that he's doing in May, and all the other crazy shit that he'll be doing, because this guy has got a lot in the tank and has got so much more left to give, so I can't wait to see it all. So remember to go like, subscribe, share the podcast, and also follow Alex and support him on his journey and donate whenever donation pages are available from him. And yeah, I'll see you next Monday for another episode.